Every great leader you admire, no matter how much success they show, has something they're still working through. Something real, something unresolved, something that others miss. Today, we're not chasing the polished version of who they are. We're getting real about what's still unfinished, the questions, the struggles, the breakthroughs behind closed doors. I'm Rocky Garza. I've spent over a decade coaching and advising some of the most successful leaders in life and business. And today, we're sitting down with Charla to uncover the truth behind leadership you rarely get to see. We're not talking about the version of them that you already know. We're talking about the version they don't always show. Let's get into it. All right. Well, Charla, thank you so much for being here. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. And today, if you're listening and there's something in the story that we share, an issue that we face, something for you that resonates, at the end of the show, we'll talk about our monthly leadership training. Would love to be there. So stick around and we'll make sure we get you all the information for that. What is something you're currently facing right now that you're looking at going, if there was something that we could talk through, something we could, again, like we mentioned before, like we're not looking for ultimate resolution, but something that we could really dive into. We know that you're successful. We know you've built great businesses. You're doing it on the regular. What's something today that we could dive into?
Oh my gosh. I probably have a few things.
Great.
One could be balancing time between multiple businesses. That's always something we could talk through. Second would be kind of the mindset shift from like, honestly, like motherhood, parenting, lifestyle, and then being a CEO. And then I don't know how much we want to get into this, but just business and the world is a little wild right now. So just being a mentor and coach to people in uncertain times is also something that I'm working through. So
yeah, those are all great things. Let's go with the one in the middle because I think that we can find some additional paths and resolution out from there.
Yeah.
So let's go with that. Let's go with that middle topic. There's being a parent. There's being a
CEO.
There's being a
coach.
There's being a
woman.
Okay. All right. Let's get after it. Now, I'll be very clear from the beginning. I probably don't have much thought on being a woman. However, I can give perspective if we go down that route, I think, to my experience in coaching women and women in my life and so on and so forth. So just where I'm going to be on the same page here. Rocky's not trying to tell you how to be a woman. Okay. So talk to me about that. What is some of the tension that you feel around that? You're a business owner and you're a parent and you're a wife and and then we have a friend and then I'm a coach and people need me and
I love that you said a friend. I wouldn't say I'm a great friend at the moment. Certainly not great to myself at the moment when it comes to time because I'm in the thick of it. I have 2 toddlers and 3 businesses and 1 adult son, which is the easiest at this point, thank goodness. But I would say when you have toddlers, that's challenging. And then when you have multiple businesses where the industry is not necessarily fully healthy and thriving, there's a lot of feeling like you're failing at everything. But, a lot of times having 3 businesses and many children, it feels like there's usually a win you can grab onto and you can ride that win and you can allow it to sprinkle through the rest of your life and keep you really positively motivated. But when all of them are struggling, it's, for me, really hard not to look in the mirror and be like, well, they have something in common. I wonder what that is. And not make yourself your own villain in the story when that's not true. I know that's not true. But it is hard to be like, I don't know if we're allowed to cuss, but like, what the hell?
Yes.
What is it? And then you do this thing where you're trying very hard. And when you don't find wins, you're like, dang. So that it comes really full circle.
Do you think that in the present, when it's really hard and difficult, are you associating a win with something that in the past was a marker for success?
Yes, usually. Yes, of course. And that would be yes.
Do you think that that's good or bad for the ability to recognize what today's win looks like if we
both. Yeah. I mean, for me, you got to have some markers.
Sure.
To be able to gauge growth.
I'm with you.
But you also fully need to understand that in terms of, because I have one business that's a service. Okay. I'm a wedding photographer and that's a one-on-one service. And then I have a business that is like coaching, teaching. And then I have a business that helps with social media strategy, which is something every business needs and none of them love ultimately, unless they hire somebody to do it for them. And we're trying to be the That's my newest business. Okay. Bridging the gap from a small business owner before they're fully ready to hire a social media management company. We're the in-between to help you try to understand and implement. I would say that it ends up being each one needs something else, but they all have in common that the marketing is changing. At least in all of our research, one company is struggling with, a launch. Launches aren't looking the way that they once were. And ultimately, we could say politics is one thing. We could say AI is another. We can say still coming out of the COVID fog. But I think connection, trying to figure out how to have connection with people virtually every single day, and it's constantly changing. So those, similar to what we were talking about before we started to record, that feeling of connection in business, but still being a CEO and needing to run business would probably be an area where those markers are not serving me because we need to be seeking that connection and it looks different to get there.
Right.
So I know that, but it's trying to step back and look in and understand where to go from here when things are all uneasy. No foundation is solid at the moment, is I guess how it feels.
Is that how it feels, or is that because it's true?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Okay. Sometimes how it feels true, even though it isn't.
I listen, I don't disagree with you. That hence the question. And because I also think, do you believe that a business can be sustained through a season without having significant markers of growth? Because earlier I heard you use the word success and positive and growth kind of all synonymously. And I think you as a person are someone who does correlate positivity with success with growth.
That's true.
Because you sort of strike me as if you're not growing, you're dying kind of person.
Yeah.
However,
hydrate or die.
Sometimes we hydrate to not be dehydrated. We don't hydrate so that we don't die.
True.
Or we don't hydrate so that we can perpetually ever hold more water.
Right.
I don't know why we're on a hydration analogy right now. We're
I always know why we're on
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think, let's just pick one of those categories. What does success, what does present success look like as a parent?
Yeah. And this is actually the self-talk that I think any CEO has to be pretty decent at some cognitive behavioral therapy and working through hard things in life and in business. So for sure, I have to keep having these moments of we've had some things happen at home that we needed time. And wow, looky there, I happen to have some because of less growth than prior years. And it is hard to not think of that as divine. So that is technically a win. And I probably should actually write it down.
I'm not, so we're recording. Don't worry. You have that one. We'll come back to that one. Yes.
So that would probably be the fulfillment that I'm okay, well, here's this win. And have it be something that exists and not constantly need to be reminded. But then from there, yeah, it's right now, success is feeling peace, that the effort in all things is the long game and it is working. Instead of feeling like I don't know if it is or isn't and what I need to change to make sure that it is. So I think maybe it all comes down to being really uncomfortable with uncertainty. So success would be peace and certainty. Got some?
Okay. Well, I'm going to try to blow that up for a second.
Okay.
I like success equals peace. I like that.
Me too.
Okay. However, I don't know that peace plus certainty equals success. I don't know if that maths.
No, probably not.
And I say that because I have sort of been on a journey to ask myself, is certainty even valuable? And for all the things that I've spent my time, effort, and energy doing, building, growing, creating, personally, professionally, relationally, maritally, parentally, those are not words, I made those up. Is certainty my marker for success? Is certainty what I'm going for? Is certainty even possible? And if not, have I then created a landing point to say, when I arrive, I will feel good. However, I already know that's not possible.
Yeah.
Because there's not very much, if I get really honest with myself, Like, I don't know that I could make you a list of things that I am certain of. Like I'm talking about certain. There's a lot, if not most things that I just am hopeful for.
Yeah.
I maybe have a strong belief in. I think that's difficult for us often, though, because we don't like to say that belief plus doubt plus action equals results.
Yes. Uneasy, uncertain. Yeah. I don't know. Who wants to put in a bunch of effort that they don't feel they get return on?
I don't disagree with that.
That's the problem, is like.
But in that equation, we are giving a result to a future date that has actions we have not taken.
Right. Yes.
So the question is, are you taking action today that will lead, right? Like, what's the cheesy phrase? Like, the tomorrow you desire is built in the action you take today.
Yes.
Whatever your biggest dream is only that dreams and goals are just the hypothetical results of the action we think we might take over the next 6 months.
Right.
That's literally all they are. So we like to make them, I say we, that may not be me or you, but in general, like, we like to make them this, like, I have these goals, I got my 1-year plan and my 90-day plan, and broken into rocks and a to-do list, and we have all these things. Yeah, all that is wonderful if you actually do something today.
And most likely, if you do what's on those lists along the way, you'll find that they're moving and changing.
That's right.
So writing them all out was almost pointless.
That's right.
In one sense. And in another, it motivated you to actually try and learn enough to know what direction to go. Right. I think that's maybe one of the things, as owning multiple businesses, I often have to ask, like, is that hurting one of the businesses? Mm-hmm. Like, I even remember my oldest child is 25. So for a long time, I only had one child. And I used to say, like, well, I don't want to have more children how do you love them as much? Like, aren't you going to love one more than the other? And isn't that just a shitty existence? Mm-hmm. So, like, why would I do that? And my mom would say things like, no, your heart just grows. It's like the Grinch. Like, you just make more space. It doesn't take away from space. And I like to believe that in business as well. But of course, there's also that, like, in my gut, when they're not all thriving, it's like, well, the one that's the most needy gets the most time. Is that one hurting the one that would be the most profitable?
Yeah.
And so
maybe.
That's
a great, I think that's a great question to ask yourself regularly.
I do, but I don't have the answer to that just yet.
Well, maybe the answer to that question isn't actually the thing we're looking for.
Maybe.
Because I think often you know the answer to that question. Working on the business that needs you the most today, most of the time does cost something to the business that we didn't give attention to.
Right.
That math, I think that math, that probably is true.
Yeah.
And,
that hurts.
And is that bad?
Well, it's yet to be determined because, well.
Do you want 3 businesses?
No.
Okay, then. So I think then it does. So maybe it's bad that we're not giving energy to the most profitable one because that's the one we really want. Or maybe it's good because it's revealing that we're giving energy to something that we don't.
I did have recent aha moments where I'm like, somebody said something to me about their perspective of my social media on what they thought was going on in my life. And it was very different than what is happening. And it's that realization of, like, you have to show up a lot everywhere.
That's right.
And it can be a lot, but not realizing you do still need to find a way to get an outside perspective of how you're being perceived. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, wow, I had somewhat thought that, but I didn't realize that it could very much be real. So now it's my favorite business needs more attention. It's the easiest one. It's my favorite, but it hasn't been the one that I've invested the most in lately because the other two take so much more. I mean, they even have staffs, like, it's wild, but it's hard because one of those businesses I think is the end game. And one of them is the favorite game, if that makes sense. I'm not ready to let go of that one, that's for sure. But 3 is a lot.
I agree.
I don't recommend.
I will neither recommend or unrecommend how many businesses something you should or shouldn't have.
At least not where you're solely so involved.
I will 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think it is very, very important for you specifically and listeners, whether they have one business or one job or 7 businesses or whatever it is. In each of those businesses, what are you doing that you're not actually the one that is solely and most highly qualified to do?
Yeah.
But you're doing because it's either the most comfortable, or because we feel like we can move the needle today, or because we know if we get involved, we can go to bed knowing that we created a new Google sheet that had a new plan on it that we're going to execute tomorrow, whatever. Right. Maybe I am not, or not talking about things I might do regularly. But like, would you say that you are a builder or you are a sustainer?
A builder. I'm definitely a builder. Yeah, I can see something and I can help, like, these are the main things that would need to exist for it to be solid, and even foreseeing things. But a sustainer, that is, listen, I have ADD. Sustaining anything, maintaining anything with ADD is like the ultimate challenge. Like, oh, you need an oil change? Someone help me. That feels impossible, yet it's the simplest thing. Yeah.
Finish this statement for me. The idea of being a maintainer feels
exhausting.
Okay. When I feel the need to get into maintenance mode in my business, it makes me feel
like I should find a long list of other things that might be equally as important to do first. It's a great time to work on things that are not urgent. ADD.
But feel good.
Oh, they feel so good. Yeah. Yeah. Have you seen all those, like, there's a recent TikTok that I've been loving, and this girl's like, it's a series she's made so good. And she's like, come with me and let's see, how long does it actually take? And she has ADD. And she's like, I'm going to organize my junk drawer and we're going to time it together and you're going to watch me. How long does it actually take? I haven't done it in 3.5 years. And here's what it looks like. And so vulnerable. And then you watch her clean it and she's like 21 minutes and 13 seconds. And you're like, oh, that was for me. She made that for me. And I'm like, I should wipe down the counters, cabinet, like the refrigerator
shelves.
Stuff. Shelves, yes. Like,
tell me what about that TikTok resonates with you?
That I would put something off that I know does not take much time or effort. And I don't even fully understand why.
And do you tend to find those are things that you put off that are needed necessities and that would drive forward progress in what you want, or simply just things that eat at your brain because you know you haven't done them?
Eat at my brain because I know I haven't done them.
That's interesting to me. That right now, some of what is taking your mental energy, your capacity to do the things only you should do, are things that somehow have got onto some proverbial list that you feel like you're unsuccessful simply because you haven't done.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Where does that list exist other than inside your brain space?
Right. So it depends on the business.
Yeah. Sorry. Back up. I'm asking about you, the person.
Oh, yeah. I have a lot of lists. For each place, they have a different destination based on that need. So like my personal list, just on my phone, notes, or my calendar, Google. And then each business kind of has its own like workflow of programs.
Does your brain think in like 5 categories?
For sure. Probably.
Or do you think your brain thinks in a category with
a long list? That's the joke. Like you make your to-do list for the day and then you need a nap. Because, and with ADD, it's like, you have to add like eat breakfast as a task you need to complete, because you'll get busy and you won't do it. And then you'll wonder why you don't feel good. And then you'll be like, I don't have any motivation. Oh, yeah.
We're 1 p.m. right now. Yeah. I'm on 3 cups of coffee, half a cup of water. That's all I got today. Cause I was like, I got things to do today.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. So you get it. But technically, if you wrote that you should eat breakfast, you would have done it first thing and not be feeling that way. Right.
I think I'm curious for you is, I wonder how much of your daily activity is being driven by either the way things have always been or the way at some point you thought they were supposed to be, rather than the way that today, presently, as a mom and as toddlers and as a wife and as a business owner and as is actually serving you now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel like in the last 36 months, you've given yourself permission to recreate the way that you operate best? Across the board. Don't go back and tell me these individual businesses. I don't give a shit about that.
Across the board.
Across the board as a human. Okay. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
because I think there's a lot of stability, there's a lot of safety, there's a lot of security in you that when things feel out of control and frazzled, anytime I have asked you, here's an observation. Anytime today I've asked you a question specifically about a way something was going to affect you, you immediately said, well, in my first business, and then you tried to give me that example, but I didn't ask about that.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of structure, and I think there's a lot of, I'm going to use the word security. If you come up with a better word at some point and I'm not right, you can throw in your word. That is coming along with your ability to go back and plug it into one of the businesses. And if you can plug it in there, then it's okay for you to do it. But if it doesn't fit there, it's not okay for you to do it, because we don't have that same framework over here for you, the person.
That's true.
You, the human.
That's true. I would say that makes a lot of sense, because my existence as a human being before COVID, because I had a COVID baby. So like after COVID, everybody's life has looked very different, but mine could not be more dramatically different, because during COVID, I had my second child and opened a second business. And then when the world kind of went back somewhat to the way that it was, then it was just this balance of, I was just a woman, now a married woman with an adult child. Now have a young baby and a young business. And so what has not gone back to pre-COVID is me having me time and self-care time and time to work on anything to do with myself, or have much time to myself, because I am trying to be present as much as possible. So with the kids, like, I don't want to be on my phone or on my computer, and they don't allow it anyway. Like, even if I want to be, literally the first second they find a way to do something that's like, yeah, what am I thinking? But then when they're napping, I hyper-focus to get work done. And it's shocking with ADD how much I can get done in that, because this is all I have and the job has to be done. So something that maybe used to take me 10 hours, I now only have 3 hours. Guess what gets done in 3 hours? It's amazing. So in one sense, it's incredible. I have more drive, more focus. And I even recall it when my adult son was young and missing it when he was older, because I lacked structure, as you're saying. And now I'm like, great with business structure, but not me. And then just things that keep throwing you just keep getting curveballs. You get tired.
Yeah.
And you're like, am I doing something wrong? You know?
I think that's a really good question you should answer.
Yeah. I should answer, am I doing something wrong? Maybe. That's probably one of the bigger questions. And
go with let's say that you, maybe it's not an option.
So I am or I'm not? I'm going to assume, yeah, I'm doing something wrong. Or I would not have so many questions.
Because life feels somewhat out of control currently.
It does.
I must be doing something wrong.
Yes.
Because I currently have more questions than I have answers. And in the past, when life was seemingly simpler,
right,
I seemed to have more answers than I had questions.
Time.
Does an extra, and I know your gut is going to want to say yes, but I'm going to challenge you to make sure it's a real yes. Does an extra 60 minutes, 120 minutes,
no,
180 minutes?
No. Maybe 180,
I didn't
but
have
like
to even finish the
overall,
question.
no, sorry.
Okay, no, you're good. That's perfect. It worked. We're doing it right. So.
No, because then we go back to the.
Right.
It's probably that I need to make those.
We'll get to needs in a second.
Okay.
What do you want? And if you use the word in which business, I'm kicking you out. So that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you, the human being.
I think it's the peace. Maybe it's even like thinking about it. I think it's even, peace is the perfect way to say it, that I know in my gut that I have done what I know to be best in each scenario that I've presented. And it brings me comfort and peace that, like, well, I can hold my head up high. I'm doing the best and it is what it is. And tomorrow I might learn a new best and I'll do that too.
Okay. But I want you to be able to hear what you just said is so distinctly different than the problem that you came in with, because the problem you had to begin with was that you couldn't get the results you thought were necessary as it related to success and growth.
True.
And what you just said, and I think that's because that's what you think you need.
Right.
But when I said, what do you want? You said to know that every day I did the very best that I could that day, regardless of the outcome.
True.
Because that's what I had in my tank that day.
True.
And I think many of us tend to operate in a space where we have this proverbial idea about what we need. And so then everything is sort of lends itself to go and doing that. And if we don't achieve the thing we needed to achieve, well, then of course I'm never going to get what I want.
Right.
I can't even get what I need.
Right.
I need lunch. So what do you want? You want to be healthy? You can't even want to be healthy. You can't even eat lunch.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And then here we go 6 months and now we feel a certain way and we didn't eat and we haven't exercised. We haven't all because we maybe, if I'm oversimplifying, I think because we often tend to start with the things that we think that we need. And most of the time I find those are driven by somebody else.
True.
Not that I don't necessarily align with them at some point. We typically do. We
Yes.
do want successful businesses that grow. Let's be very clear. But what I want is like to be able to touch my toes.
Right.
And what I want is to coach baseball as long as my kids are willing to let me.
Yeah.
And what I want is that when those wild moments happen in the beautiful stage that little ones are in, to be mindful and to be present and to recognize. And what I want is, yesterday was field day at Ezra School. And so what I want is to be able to go to field day for 4 hours. And then I want to be able to take one call at Houndstooth. And then I want to go to lemonade stand day at Marlowe School afterwards.
That's
and
cute.
then pick them up and then bring them home. And then that's what I want.
I want that.
And that doesn't mean that I also don't want a very profitable and successful business.
Right.
And I don't want to impact people. And I don't want to sit down to record a podcast so that it can be used, so it can be a lead gen tool, so we can chop it up, so we can have I want, but do I need this? Do I need to record a podcast? No, I don't need to. I don't need to, but I get to. So I gotta, if I want to though, then I need to find a way to make it happen.
True.
And I would challenge you to allow yourself, in the midst of all of the things that you said that have occurred in the last 3.5 to 5 years, somewhere along the way, I think, to some degree, you stopped believing that you could choose what you wanted and that wasn't going to have to come at the cost of someone else.
That's true. That's absolutely true. I think I even think that I think it's very natural for women to, or all people, but especially women that are home with young babies, to put themselves last. And
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah. And I have definitely had to put myself last for my babies, put myself last for my businesses, and there is nothing left for me. So I am definitely feeling stuck in survival mode. So I imagine I'm putting off exercising and reading and bubble baths and girls' trips, things that I genuinely love, to like sit quietly in a cafe and eat hot food without being bothered from anyone, not a business, nothing, like on D&D. I actually truly enjoy alone time. I don't have a lot of that. It's just chaos everywhere. I feel like I'm stuck in survival mode. And when I have pockets of time, to your point, I think I'm maybe doing what's most urgent, especially being asked from someone else that I need to answer to, because I'm okay not answering to myself. I'll put myself off because I can CBT. It's okay. It's just for now. It's short term. This is more important. Do this, do that. And as somebody who has really loved courting herself for quite some time, I definitely miss my relationship with myself. And it probably is playing a bigger role than I've allowed myself to realize. Because I'm like, well, it is just temporary. I will have more time. But the immense mental health and anxiety bonuses that come with carving out that time for myself would probably help me be more confident and decisive in these business decisions, which, back to your point, I probably have made a lot of decisions in the effort to salvage other people's feelings instead of just doing what I fucking know needs to be done. I just don't have the energy to hear about it or deal with what comes with sometimes business decisions come with that they really shouldn't, but they do, unfortunately. Yeah.
That was a really good breath there at the end.
Yeah.
I think that is the clearest, most truthful thing you've said so far.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that stuck out to me that I know people that are listening probably stopped about halfway through when you said this and they're hit pause or they're going to go back and listen to it again is you said that I miss the relationship with me. And I don't even know that I've even ever heard anyone say to me before, use the phrase, I used to be so good at courting myself. And I love that.
Yeah.
I am going to, that you are going to hear that again. I promise I'll quote you. I'll make sure that I do think that, and I think I want to make this parallel. And I do think that business ownership, I do think that parenting, I do think that romantic relationships and friendships and family. And so sort of all these categories, I really, really try to like let all these categories, this is leadership to me.
Yeah.
Leadership is not how you run a business. It's not what the kind of meetings you have. Nobody cares. This is leadership, right? And so when I refer to leadership, I'm holding all this together. It really, really is kind of set on the foundation of our ability to manage ourselves.
Right.
And to take care of ourselves.
Yes.
And for some of us, taking care of ourselves could be a bubble bath, to use your word. Some of it could be a quiet meal on D&D that nobody talks to us and we can eat warm food when it's delivered.
Judge people.
That we're not chopping it up and trying to cut our food with their food while they throw their food, that we lost our food and we actually gave them what we had and we had to eat 2 cold chicken nuggets and a batch of french fries because they wanted our food that was right. Like, yes to all that.
But it feels selfish. And it feels like, especially, so our son, he's 3. He was diagnosed with autism. We are mostly nonverbal, and we've been going to full-time therapy for about 6 months, which really opened the world up. But it also brings a whole new layer of emotions of, I imagine most parents go through this where they're like, did I do something wrong? Did I eat something wrong? Did I do this?
Let's be really clear because I want to give credit where it's due. Most moms, everything you're saying right now, I want to make sure that we don't miss. I don't have a chance to feel the thing you're feeling. Back up. I don't have the weight to feel the thing you're feeling. Not chance, weight. So I don't want to miss that.
Okay.
Because if that was my child, it wasn't, I can't ask myself, was it something I ate?
Right.
I can't ask myself, was it something I did?
True.
You follow me?
You're right. Yes.
You can.
That does make sense.
So that is a mother thing.
That is definitely.
That fathers, I can kind of think about getting my head around. I cannot feel and I cannot imagine because I don't have the ability to ask myself that question.
Yeah. And it's a hot topic right now
and I
in the political world. And maybe I shouldn't have brought this up.
And I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that for those that are listening, especially mothers.
Yes. There's a lot of opinions.
And regardless of where people think they did or they didn't, that's irrelevant. I want you to know it is something that you feel, and it's something, but it is something specific that you as a mother have the weight of feeling.
Right.
That as fathers we don't.
Right.
And so
this is so clear.
Make sure we see the difference there because
mom guilt.
Right. And I get to go, I didn't have anything to do with that.
It's another fun TikTok fed to me is like a father's perspective of something and a mother's, and a father sees a trampoline and he's like jumping on it with his kids and he just sees laughter and joy and they're having a great time and they're double bouncing, and moms see some moms see like a cast, a trip to the ER, and it's like, we're not having the same experience.
Nope.
And so, with all of that was a lot, and not being able to communicate very easily with your child is wild and fascinating, and going through and learning all of that and then taking all of that info and like trying as per usual to say, what opportunity does this bring me? How can I learn and lean from this and be better as a leader, be better as a mentor, better at serving this client, or better at being a wife or a friend, but still not drilling it all the way down to allowing myself the peace and time to be like, I'm doing the best I can with what I have for all things. Yeah.
I don't, I love the recognition you have between what feels like the need to take all of the effort and energy and circumstance and find a way to use it to make you better.
Yeah.
Versus, and I don't agree or disagree, I'm just going to draw a second parallel. Or maybe peace isn't found in finding the better. And maybe peace is found in just letting it be.
Yeah. That is very challenging, just to let something be.
Preach. I won't disagree with that.
If you have tips, tell me. I've tried it all.
Zero.
I don't think it's in my DNA. So maybe that's it. Maybe if I desire peace, that is not something I probably, honestly, I wonder if I would even like it. What does that even mean?
I think that's a great question. Does the current working definition you have of peace, is that even yours?
No. I have a friend who did like a week of silence in India, and I'm like, ooh. But that wouldn't be silent for me. I don't know if I would actually enjoy that.
Right.
I'd probably be miserable.
Yeah, I think I sort of make it synonymous with, and I don't know that I have a good even definition for myself other than I just try to live it out regularly. But like, I know for me, rest is not synonymous with sedentary.
Right.
That doesn't fill me up.
No.
At all whatsoever. Let's go away to an Airbnb and spend 3 days and we're just going to hang out there. That sounds awful. That sounds not fun at all.
There's things to see.
And do. And
eat.
And why are we, if we're just going to sit, we can just sit here.
At home.
We don't need to go someplace else to sit.
Yeah.
But I don't want to sit.
Right.
Right. And like Sarah and I have it, my wife and I, we have this conversation all the time of like, and I mean this in the most sincere way. Like, I envy the fact that we get up together in the morning. We both collectively in our house, almost everything in our house is about as 50-50 as it gets. So
that's amazing.
Like one of us is making coffee and one of us is getting kids up and one of us is helping with breakfast and one of us is packing lunches and one of us is, and then I take the kids to the bus because she picks them up. And I'm for sure like my best hours are the first 3 hours of the day.
Yeah.
So drop the kids off at 7:05. I come in the office. I'm 4 minutes away. By 7 to 9 on my calendar says focus time. You can't book a meeting. I can do everything that I need to do in those 2 hours almost every day because I'm dialed. And I love. It's what I got. It's what I gave myself. Right. And this is, I'm going to be very clear if you're listening or my wife hears this or somebody else wants to try to send to my wife until I put her on blast. I'm not. I'm saying this in the most genuine way. She does all that with me. All right, babe, love you. See you, mom. We in the car. And then she gets her cup of coffee and then she gets her yogurt or peanut butter protein bar and her Kindle, and she gets back in bed and sits up in bed and reads and maybe call it 30 minutes, maybe it's probably sometimes 15, sometimes 45. I don't know. She does her thing. She's an adult. She can take care of herself. And then she gets ready and then she goes to work and she has her own business and she has, let's be very clear. Like she has easily just as much responsibility in life as I do. Okay? Plus mom guilt.
Yeah. So that 30 minutes of reading with mom guilt.
So like, but here's the thing. She doesn't. She doesn't read? No, she doesn't have mom guilt. Oh, she's choosing the thing that she wants. And I want to be clear, I don't even think she's choosing it because we're all gone. I think we're all there on Saturdays or Sundays. She does it. Yeah. Because she likes it. And so I say that not as an argument for or against mom guilt. I say that as back to me. I can't imagine. I literally can't get my brain around the idea that I would come home from the bus and get back in my bed to read.
It sounds amazing.
What the hell? No, I can't. Now, I've sort of over the last 6 months or a year or so had to go, am I envious because I feel like she is giving herself less responsibility than me? Or am I jealous because I have yet to define for myself what that activity for her looks like in my life?
Yeah.
And it's for sure the latter because she easily has as much, if not more responsibility than I do. So
that was the mom guilt state.
That's right. That's not it at all.
Yeah.
So
what is your reading in bed?
Pulling weeds.
Well, there you go. But do you do that kid-free?
Playing pickleball, going. I think for me, some is throwing the baseball with Ezra. I think it's being outside in the backyard. I think it's sedentary and rest to me, for the most part, are not synonymous.
Right.
It's not. Right. It's not. I don't want to be still.
I think that's a lot of people.
I agree.
And I think Sarah's reading in bed is constant and successful and so good for mental health and everybody. Like, it's such a great example of the kids. And what she has done that I'm probably seeking is permission.
Took the words out of my mouth.
Permission to be like, this is the expectation of what I'm doing for my self-care that I'm not willing to compromise on. And that's what I have not done. And my husband is insanely helpful.
Right.
Like, he is so, like you said, 50-50.
Yeah. Let's use it. I'm going to challenge you to use it, to stop using the word self-care, because I don't think that word carries enough weight in your life, which is why you don't do it.
What are we going to call it?
I don't know, but I don't think we got to call it something that for you is much more meaningful, because not that you don't enjoy a bubble bath, but what we're talking about is not bubble baths. Okay. We're not talking about talking about self-care. We're talking about self-permission. We're talking about self-love. We're talking about kindness. The ability to recognize self-kindness, self-value, self-worth. What am I doing daily for my self-worth?
Right.
Not for my self-care so that I feel cared for my self-worth so that I am reminded of the full weight and value of who I am.
Yeah.
Regardless of the state of my business.
Right. And I'm sure that is everything. I started out saying the foundations just don't feel solid. It's not my marriage. It's not my kids. It's not even necessarily business. It's just all of them are sitting on a foundation that doesn't feel as solid as it has for the majority of my life. And so many things that usually you do have a little bit of control over are out of control. Even speaking with my son, like all the way to that point. So, and then of course, anyone with toddlers, any new mom knows that there's just like, you're in the thick of it. Sometimes your husband, who is still your best friend and very, very helpful, you're just passing them in the hallways. And like, you do go into this, like, I'm just in survival. It won't always be this way. But the only one that can really change it is me. And I find a million reasons why it's just not yet time. How can I make that happen?
Again, I think it's a great question.
Yeah. Write it on my list. All of my lists. Now that you mention it, your wife is going to read, and so do your kids. So there is something to say about putting it on every list, because if you decide you're going to do something, it can only happen when everybody's on board. So I probably do need to make like an announcement that this is something that I do, and set that expectation with everyone in my life that I love, that I answer to, because I will feel obligated to ditch myself to answer them and help them on anything they have, versus say, no, I'm on D&D for another 45 minutes. I'm going to put a pin in that and just be here now.
I am 100% with you. As long as you're willing to do it, even when you set these expectations and they try to go against them.
Yeah. Which they do in the beginning.
Always. And so I think that's something that I admired deeply about Sarah. That
me too.
We found a way to meet her expectations, because she said not that she was going to do it, because she did it.
Yeah.
And true. And I'm not saying that anybody should or should not be like her.
No, you're right.
I would encourage you, though, to do it. And I promise you, the people in your life will find a way to survive with that happening.
I know for a fact I have done it before.
That's right.
I don't know why I have allowed myself not to do it again yet.
Because I think you have been convincing yourself that peace and certainty will come from growth and success.
True.
Rather than realizing that peace comes from knowing, per your definition, not mine, that today I will do everything in my power that I can control today.
Right. We could take it all back to, not that I think that I'm a controlling person. I'm an Enneagram 7. I'm a Scorpio. We're known for being adventurous, majestic, mysterious, spontaneous. Those things they don't equal control. But ADHD, anxiety, being a mom, owning businesses can end up where you're in situations where control does feel like comfort, because you can predict.
That's right.
And that is non-existent in my life in any way. I can't predict anything. And it's so uncomfortable. There we go. But I could, and I will now, thank you, predict that I can at least go out and go for a walk and listen to a podcast.
That's right.
Or hit the gym and do what I love to do. Try out for American Ninja Warrior, whatever.
I don't know why you wouldn't.
I did before. I'm like, I should get back into that.
I love your ability to bring it back ultimately to you giving yourself permission.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And it's a word we've talked about a bunch around here lately. And I know it's always a tricky one because people tend to not want to have to feel like they need permission or ask for permission. We want to be, I do my thing. I do it on my own. I don't need you. I don't. And I understand. I mean, I have the same sentiments. I think about those things often too. However,
but it's permission from myself. Like nobody's said I don't have permission. I'm deeming myself less relevant and important right now than everyone and everything that is in front of me.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm not going to disagree with you. I so appreciate you. I appreciate you being here, and I hope that you will walk away today being reminded that probably nothing's going to change before you go to bed tonight. And I say that in the most encouraging way possible. However, your ability to be aware of things, what I sort of watched was your acceptance of those things. And then now the ability to say, I'm going to act, kind of part 3, and we call it our 4 A's, but a part 3 is to say, I'm going to act on that thing. And that, we would hope part 4, we would say is accountability. And accountability is just being reminded of what you want. Accountability is not driven by shame. We kind of grew up that way. That's not it. It's just being reminded of what we want. And so, you want to choose you and you want to do the things that you want, and you want to have the permission for yourself that be reminded that self-worth is not selfish, that it's actually the opposite, and our ability to choose ourselves gives us the capacity to do the things that we love. Not related to any one of those 3 businesses.
No, I know.
But related to you, the person, the individual, and that certainty is not what we find as success.
That's why these conversations are important, because we tend to find what we think we feel the problem is, and it tends to be what's causing us anxiety in that exact moment, which would be my businesses, which is why I started out talking about the businesses, but it's not the businesses.
I agree.
So, but if we don't talk about it with someone or digest it in some way, or even listen to things like this and be like, oh shit, like 1,000% yes, that's what's happening. So maybe instead of scrolling hilarious TikToks that bring me a small dopamine hit, I should listen to your podcast more often.
Well, I won't disagree with that. I'll give a vote for that. I so appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. If you're listening and you're thinking, you hear the stories, you hear the struggles of what Charla is saying, and you're going, hey, that's me too. Whether or not you're a woman, whether or not you're a mom, or whether you're a dad, or whether you're a parent or not, and you're thinking, wow, there still is something that maybe I too need to be able to discover. How do I give myself permission? I would love for you to join me this next month for our monthly leadership training. You can go to rockygarza.com/confidence. You can check it out there. You can RSVP. We would love to have you. And we will talk about this exact thing. What is required and necessary for us to give ourselves the kind of permission needed in order to build the life, not that we think that we need, but rather to build the life that we want. So appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, friend.
Thanks, Rocky.
We'll see you again soon.
I appreciate you.
Of course.